Hello everybody, I'm Dave Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Lorcana, Not the Meta. And in these videos, I take a look at stuff that, well, really isn't as popular, isn't in the meta, which means it's not as competitive as other decks, but I like to try different things and see what I can do because there's a lot of neat cards that, well, I just want to play. So let's take a look at a deck that I call Big Steel. Now, I've always been a fan of ramp in various different games, and all ramp is where you try to get a lot of resources in order to cast really big beefy stuff. And of course I'm inspired by seeing all these other decks out there in Lorcana that are using like Granitalia. I think that's her. Who is, let's see here, well, she's a 2/1. What is that? Yeah, Granitala. Also stuff like One Jump Ahead, and then also we're looking at stuff like Detective Mickey, and I think that's Detective Mickey. Is that Detective Mickey? Mickey Mouse Detective. Well, still the same thing. Anyways, I'm inspired by all these cards that allow you to ramp up and build resources quicker than your opponent. So this means you can put out a lot of little stuff, or you can put out some bigger beefy stuff. And I just wanted to throw something together and see how it would do. With this deck, I actually liked how it played. My success ratio with it is not good at all, but I really thought it'd be cool to at least try it, throw it together and see how it runs. And it doesn't run too bad. And I really think if you build a deck with Sapphire, you can easily use take the same mold for part of your deck, probably anywhere from a third to a half, being this ramp, and then really inserting just about any other color you want into it to really get things going to work like you want it to. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect every time, but I think it is pretty viable. The more resources you have out, the more stuff you can cast. But again, as always, the big thing is keeping cards in your hand. It doesn't matter if you have 15 ink out. If you don't have any cards to play but one every turn, it's not very beneficial. So you want to keep getting cards in your hand as frequently as possible. And this deck does address some of that. So let's go ahead and take a look at my Big Steel deck and see what we got. All right, so for one cost, I've got one cost Inkable. I've got Goons. They're 2/2, and they quest for 1 lore. And I went ahead and got me a playset. No, I don't. Do I have a playset? Ooh, I guess I don't. I guess I only have 3 of them. But it wouldn't be too hard for me to find something else that fits that bill, just like that. Then I have for one Inkable, I have Develop Your Brain. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put one into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. Again, you're drawing 2 cards. You've got options. It's always nice to have options, and you got a choice instead of just drawing a card, and that's what you're stuck with. And I've got a play set of them. If you're playing Sapphire, I think you should really have a play set of them. I've got a single Captain Hook. He's a 1/2. He always Inkable for 1. He's a 1/2, and he quests for 1 lore, and he's got Challenger 2. So if he's challenging, he gets an additional +2 to his willpower, making him a 3/2, making him able to take out pretty much most anybody else. Unlike the Goons are nice, but if someone else is out there who's got 3 strength, then you're going to have to add something else to these Goons, or maybe even swing with 2 Goons to eliminate 1 character. Whereas Captain Hook, when he's challenging, he can easily take out that 3 strength character. And I just got 1 of him. And again, I just threw it together. I didn't really think too terribly much about it, what I was doing. Just had a basic idea of what I wanted. So for 1 Inkable, I got Jasmine. She's a 1/2. She's a 1/2, and yes, she is Inkable, and she quests for 1 lore, but when I play her, I can remove up to 1 damage from a chosen character of mine. I put her in here. I know she's only 1/2, but I do like low-cost cards that allow me to do something additional. Goons are nice, even though they're a 2/2, and even Hook is nice because he's got Challenger 2, but I like cards that have come into play abilities like hers, so she comes into play so she can heal one of my other characters, and that's really nice. And also too, again, this character is good with bounce. So I'm going to try to make a video on other cards that interact nicely together. But Jasmine is definitely one of those cards. And then I have another 1 cost Inkable. Tiana, she's a 1/3, quest for 1 lore. I just wanted another 1 cost creature in here that I could get out that was Inkable, so early game I had something to lay out on the field and go with. And what's nice, she's a 1/3, so even if someone has a 2/2 like these Goons, if they swing on Tiana, well, they're going to have to commit an additional resource to get rid of her. And remember, it's always nice when you can make your opponent commit more resources to get rid of one character versus one character taking out your character. So you always want your opponent to spend more resources trying to eliminate your characters. But of course, you have to be a threat in getting lore. So you need to be able to get some lore production going on, or start whittling down their characters so they feel like they have to stop yours. All right, let's see what we got for the 2-cost. I've got 2-cost Inkable. I got Cinderella. She's a 2/2, and she quests for 1 lore. And when I play this character, I may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. And I put her in here mostly just for that draw power. I'm drawing a card. It's not the most optimal, but I can choose to draw it and discard it. Basically, I'm just trying to get through my deck to get to my bigger creatures so I can get them out. So in this deck, I'm not quite as worried about keeping as many cards as possible in my hand as to getting to the big cards that I've got in this deck that I really want to use. So because I know they're more expensive cards, I'm trying to find them faster in my deck. Now, of course, if I already got a couple of high-end cards that I draw, like let's say I've got Pacha sit in my hand at the beginning of the game, then I might not use her to find them because I've already got them. And through the course of playing, I might draw those big cards anyways. But this is an option, basically. And it's just nice to have some draw power. And she gives it to me because I'm playing Sapphire and Steel. And that's one of the ways that I can get draw power out of Sapphire and Steel. It's Steel draw power. So Gramatalia, 2-cost Inkable, a 1/1, questing for 1. And when this character is banished, you can put this card into your inkwell face down and exerted. So right there, you get Gramatalia out. As soon as you get her out as quick as you can and start swinging with her. Start swinging for lore. And if someone puts out a creature, puts out another character, use Gramatalia to go for that character, because you're only going to benefit yourself because she's going to go in your inkwell and you're going to have more ink to use to cast your other characters with. So don't be afraid to get her swinging for lore, and then if other characters come out, just go for it. Even if you know you're going to lose her and you have no hope of getting rid of their characters, go for it. I have more Steel draw power right here in Ransack. It's a 2-cost Inkable. Draw 2 cards, then choose and discard 2 cards. Again, I'm using this to speed my way into my bigger characters. Plus, I might be able to find cards like this. 2-cost Uninkable, 1 jump ahead, which it's an action, it's a song. And a character would cost 2 or more can sing this song for free if they get exerted. And I get to put the top card of my deck into my inkwell face down and exerted. I don't have any real special combos in this deck, so I'm not worried about what card is coming off the top of my deck and going into my inkwell. And I went ahead and put 4 of them in here. And I've seen other people, and I'm going to bring up Jamie again, only because I've played him a lot, and he plays the same deck, which is really good, and it's really awesome, and he knows how to play it. And he plays these all the time, and I always thought, why would I want to play that? Because you get a lot of ink, and it becomes easy to cast a lot of cards in a short amount of time. And also, when you're running cards like Bell, man, it sure helps to have a lot of ink in your inkwell, because that's what Bell runs off of, is ink. And if you don't know Belle, you should go watch my video on my nemesis, Jamie, and his Bell ramp deck, and take a look at that. Because if you have 10 or more ink in your inkwell, she gets +4 to her lore, and then she quests for a total of 5. So that's pretty impressive. All right, so let's take a look at my 3-cost cards. 3-cost Uninkable, Let the Storm Rage On. Now, a character with cost 3 or more can exert themselves to sing this card song for free, and you get to deal 2 damage to a chosen character. Draw a card. Again, I love cards where I can use them and they replace themselves. And Let the Storm Rage On, I like that. It's really good. Plus, it helps if someone opponent has a slightly bigger character than one I'm swinging with. Let's say I'm swinging with Cinderella on someone else's character like Belle, and I only can do 2 damage. Then I can sit there and use Let the Storm Rage On to take out that Belle and get rid of her, and then I can get the draw card and replace that card. So I've got Mickey Mouse Detective. He's a 3-cost Uninkable. He's a 1/3, quest for 1 lore. And again, when I play this character, I can put the top card of my deck into my inkwell face down and exerted. That's an important distinction, and exerted. So you always want to make sure that you're really reading your cards, because it'd be easy to misplay that. See, now Gramatalia, When she's banished, you can put this card in your inkwell face down and exerted. Again, one jump ahead. Put the top card of your deck in your inkwell face down and exerted. But there are other cards that don't do that, and you may want to take a look at those cards. Can't think of those cards off the top of my head, but you definitely want to remember that. But it doesn't matter, because next turn you're going to ready all those cards, and they're going to be available for you to use. And remember, it does say may. Anytime it says may, text is very important, and thoroughly reading the card and understanding what it's trying to tell you is just as important as anything else you'll do in the game. May. This means you don't have to. If you've got enough ink and you're fine where you're at, then don't do that. Don't follow that ability. It just says when you place a character, you may. It doesn't mean you have to or you must. It just says you may. It's an important distinction. It doesn't seem important right now or relevant, but it can be later on. There we go. There's another one. I went ahead and put Hercules in here. I had some extra Hercules running around. He's a 3-cost inkable, 3/3, quest for 1, but he's bodyguard. So when he comes into play, I can have him come into play exerted, and then that way, if any of their characters try to attack any of your characters, they have to go through Hercules first. Even a lower end bodyguard like Hercules or Simba, it's definitely nice to have, because they have to get through that one card to get to all your other cards, and that's extra cards that they're using out of their hand, or extra characters they have to swing with, and those characters will take damage. And if you're not swinging with your bodyguard every turn and getting them exerted to protect your other characters, well, you should be. All right, let's scoop these up and move on. I'm starting to get a little bigger now. Now I'm moving into my 4-cost. 4-cost inkable, 2/5 Donald Duck, quest for 1 lore. He's a musketeer, and he's got bodyguard. Again, just like Hercules, he may enter the play exerted, and an opposing character who challenges one of your characters must choose one with the bodyguard if able. And during my turn, your musketeer gains evasive. So this guy, Donald's going to gain evasive on my turn. So if another opponent, like I was playing earlier today, I'd been using evasive here and there, but then I've been sidelighting it because I like other cards better and I want to do certain combos. And man, I just got rolled over by a deck that was just basic, just evasive, hit the field, go, hit the field, go. And the kid told me all the time, he said, man, I just quest. I just quest. I was like, okay. And man, that's all I did. He quest, he's got evasive, quest, he's got evasive. And I didn't have a lot of ability to directly hit any of his characters, and that messed me up bad. And all his stuff was inkable, and I'm gonna have to build an evasive deck so I can show you just how crazy it is. But it was pretty impressive. And anyways, I've got 4 Donalds, plus what I like about him is he's a 2/5, so he's pretty tough. So someone's got to commit a lot of resources, and even though he only is hitting for 2 when he attacks another character, what's nice is he can soak up a lot of damage. And you might want to keep Donald in mind. I like him because he's a nice mid-range kind of bodyguard. He's not as hefty as Mickey. He's not as expensive, and he's got more staying power than Hercules or Simba. And I mean, he only costs 4. That's not bad at all. And I really like him. Plus, that whole evasive thing that he gains is great. All right, so let's take a look. This is where my big steal comes in. You kind of start to see it with Donald because he's got a lot of strength. But Cerebus, he's a 5-cost inkable, and he's a 5/6, and quest for 1 lore. Nothing special, but I just like the art. I think it's cool, and I thought, how cool would it be to have Cerberus in my deck? I mean, why not? And even though I'm big about having cards with abilities and do certain things, at some point, I want to play Cerberus. Just because it's neat, and it kind of is a mainstay of my deck. I just thought it'd be fun because they made the card I want to, and I did. It's pretty neat. And here you can see, basically, I got Cerberus again in Donald Duck, but instead of a 5/6, he's a 6/5. He's a 5-cost inkable, quest for 1 lore. Again, just a big beefy character. Definitely something nice to have on the battlefield, something hard for them to take out. Li Shang, another 5-cost inkable. He's a 3/6, quest for 2, which I really like. And whenever he quests, my other characters gain evasive this turn. So if I've got him out and I quest, all my other characters get evasive, and then they can start. I mean, that's really good because then I can hit my opponent who may have evasive creatures, and it just didn't happen for me that game that I was playing. Matter of fact, I think I played this deck like 3 times, and Li Shang just did not come out when I needed him to. And when I had him in my hand, I was doing the math, and it wouldn't matter anyways. I was done next turn. But always keep in mind if you can have a character like Donald or Cerberus, and it's about, well, do I put in Li Shang who has this cool ability, or these other guys who don't but can hit for a little more? I really got to go for Li Shang. In this deck, it worked kind of well that I actually had him, that I had enough space for everything that I wanted, and him and them. And he's just cool. He's a big 3/6. He's beefy. He can soak up a lot of damage. So I can't remember what the name of that card is that I got hit with the other day. But basically, there's a card where it does 2 damage to all of your opponent's characters. Yeah. Characters like Donald and Li Shang, man, they can shrug that damage off like a bad cold. No problem. But when you got smaller, more inexpensive characters with lesser strength, man, that 2 damage just could wipe out your entire field, man. It is better than that card Be Prepared. Because if you got weak characters, Be Prepared, sure, it'll clear the board, but you can put them out. But lower cost characters, you can put them out really fast, but they're just not going to have as much strength. But man, bigger characters, the only thing that can really stop them is all at once is Be Prepared and can wipe the whole field. So anyways, let me move on. I'm really going down other card rabbit holes right now because there's so much rattling around in my head. So this is the last of my big steel characters. I got a cool foil Croc. He's a 6-cost inkable. He's a 6/6. Questing for 2 lore. Yeah, buddy. Just like my pal Li Shang there. Then I gotta have all 4. Croc is cool. If you've seen the movie. All right. So anyways, there he is. I got Pacha. He's a 4/8. That's cool. I like that too. I'm excited about a 4/8 character. That is awesome. And he only costs 6. And he quests for 2 lore. And he's my cool foil right there. And then I got, of course, I got 3 more. So I got a total of 4. They're just neat. I think they're cool. I want to play with these other cards, and I'm trying to build decks to where I can have them and not just, I'll have a Kronk in case I get to play them. No, I want a play set. I want a play set of these guys because I think it's cool. And, looking at these guys, there's enough cards out there. You might want to play an Emperor's New Groove deck. Of course, Yzma is a completely different color than Kuzco, who's a completely different color than Pacha and Kronk, so you got to kind of figure out where you want to play the game if you're going to theme it like that. So this is a quick look at my deck, Big Steel, because again, I just thought it would be cool to play a lot of really big characters, and the Steel was the first thing I went to just because, well, I've got Kronk, and man, Kronk was one of my first Big Steel characters, and I just always thought he was cool, and he'd pop in and out of decks, and then I'd kick him out of decks just because it didn't seem like I had a good use for him, and he was taking up space. And finally, I just wanted to do him some justice and put him in a deck where I actually had, a whole theme that would actually include him instead of exclude him. Again, I just like doing stuff like that. Again, I like having fun with my card games, and I really feel this game is really refreshing for me, and I really, really enjoy it. As you can tell, I'm really excited about it, and it's just fun. It helps that we're right here at the beginning, and there's only 2 expansions right now, the 3rd one coming. So it's just really neat. You get a chance to play and replay and test all these different ideas and just get them out there. I just think it's really neat. And, don't be dissuaded if you build something that you like and you keep getting beat. Man, don't worry about it. Just play and have a good time. If you want to change your deck up a little bit, go for it. Keep cards in your deck that you like, Even if you build this Big Steel deck that I got here, and you're like, Dave, you're right, this just isn't that good for competitive play. But you know what? Then go through and do what I do. I get something like this and say, well, okay, maybe I don't need that many Pachas. Maybe I don't need that many Kronks. But I still want these guys because I think they're cool. Then I'll still leave a few in just because. I mean, if you get around to laying out a 4/8 that can quest for 2, 6 is not, it's not uncommon for you to have 6 ink and to be able to lay this guy out, and you've still got plenty of characters and items on your field. So a 4/8 hits the board, people are going to see that, and automatically, man, every turn I should be questing with this guy, because it's going to take a lot for people to get rid of this guy. You're questing for 2 every turn. Think about it. It's 10. If you only ever have this guy out from the beginning of the game, which I know he's expensive, but anyways, that's beside the point. Every time you swing for 2, you're only 10 turns away from victory. That's like my 61 run deck that I have. It's in an earlier video. You should check it out. But all my characters, there's only maybe 4 or 6 characters in the entire deck that don't quest for less than 2 lore. Everybody in that deck, except for those handful of characters, quest for 2 lore. So if I have 2 characters out, that's 4 lore. I'm 5 turns away from victory. Right? I think that's right. It's late when I'm doing these videos. Because look, 4, 8, 12. Oh, 16, I'm sorry. I'm 5 turns away from victory. Yeah, 5 turns away from victory. 20. I mean, yeah. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Done. Game over. You know, so you should be questing with these guys. I mean, they're big. They're huge. And see, Donald, honestly, if I was going to tweak this deck, I'd probably pull Donald out because he's not questing for 2. Sure, he can soak up some damage, but really, Li Shang's way better than Donald. And, you know, and even Cerebus, if I really wanted a big character, I could just, if I wanted him still, I could just knock out a couple Cerberus and leave a couple in and give my deck a little more flexibility, which I might try because I really want to be able to play this deck and have fun with it, but yet not stray from the enjoyment of it. You know, I don't want my card game to be mechanical and I am only in it for victory. I want to play and enjoy the card game and what it's about. But anyways, that's my look at Big Steel. So I hope you found it interesting. I'm going to probably tweak with it, play with it for a while. It might be a while before I come back and revisit it. But anyways, I guess that's all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, this episode of Lorcana, Not the Meta. And again, my name is David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, telling you to stay safe, play great games, and I'll see you real soon.